straight into it. Get your popcorn ready.
Not Mrs. Puff. You may think she's just SpongeBob's boating teacher, but you'd be very, very wrong. For years, she's been running from her dark and mysterious past, but it's finally caught up to her. And behind it all is a mastermind who's been secretly controlling her life and psychologically torturing her. If you guys thought my last two theories were mind-blowing, get ready for my biggest conspiracy yet. This is the Mrs. Puff theory.
Come on, Alex.
I gotta start off by saying, wow, the reaction to my last two SpongeBob theories has been
Alex!
insane.
Hey, that's the homies from Inner City, okay? That's Chris Wilson, okay? Come on.
I'm glad you guys are enjoying my ridiculously deep dives into the show. I mean, I have to watch so much SpongeBob and read so much of the Wikipedia to put these theories together, but it's worth it because the
Doctor Strange video coming out Friday, by the way.
writers actually take the time to set these things up. Now, a lot of people have been asking, Alex, how do you come up with
Pop
these
in the
crazy
chat, y'all. Pop
conspiracy
in the
theories?
chat. Say something in the
I always
chat.
start these theories by looking for the moments in the show that seem to be implying more than they're letting on. Like I've said before, SpongeBob is a weird show with lots of abstract
Yeah,
humor, but I
smacking
can
the
usually
booty, okay.
understand the intent the writers had behind a weird joke. But then there's stuff like this.
I hope I still remember how to do this. Yeah.
And it's so confusing and weird that it feels like the writers are trying to imply something beyond just weirdness for the sake of comedy. And nowhere in the show is there more of these moments than with Mrs. Puff.
Yeah.
And once I started looking into it, it led me down the deepest rabbit hole I've ever seen from this show. So, let's begin. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm getting hacked.
Oh, Alex, bro. Got no time for NordVPN, bro. We appreciate you, Alex. But just know that we don't got no time for that.
Guarantee. Now I can finally make my YouTube SpongeBob conspiracy theories without the fear of being hacked. Thanks, NordVPN. Now, without further ado, let's begin the theory. Mrs. Puff is a boating school teacher in Bikini Bottom. She's passed all of her students except for one, SpongeBob SquarePants. He's taken her driver's test hundreds of times, and he always ends up failing it and causing destruction and chaos that usually ends up with Mrs. Puff going to jail, despite it not really being her fault. We
Yeah.
also know that she was once married, but her husband was killed by fishermen.
That's my driving teacher, Mrs. Puff.
Mrs. Puff? Oh, she's married.
Oh no, Mr. Krabs, she's single.
Then what happened to Mr. Puff?
Damn, that's crazy. That's hella dark humor for SpongeBob. I love it. Keep going.
She doesn't like to talk about it.
Throughout the show, there are moments like this that seem to be hinting at her having a dark, mysterious past.
Yeah.
And in Season 2, Episode 10, No Free Rides, we get the biggest clue about who Mrs. Puff really is. After SpongeBob fails the driving test yet again, Mrs. Puff has just had it with him and ends up just giving up and giving him his license, even though...
Real question is, how does she how does she have a pre-license already? Mind you, I haven't seen these, like, I watched all these, like, right when they came out, but I haven't watched them since. But as you're noticing in this, in the driver's license picture right here, how does she have all these facts by him already? Y'all can say, oh, she's the teacher, she's got to know this stuff. Nah. How she know his height? How she know his weight? Well, she probably knew his date of birth, honestly. Damn, SpongeBob old. He's in 86, baby. Damn. And how does she have a picture of him on command? I'm not gonna say this is weird yet. Mrs. Puff got a hidden agenda, y'all.
and giving him his license, even though he never really passed. She quickly realizes that this is a horrible idea and he'll probably end up destroying the entire town.
I love this. That's crazy. That's crazy. First off, SpongeBob, what the hell are you doing driving with your eyes closed? What's wrong with you, bro?
So much destruction. This reporter asks, why? Local consensus places...
Hold on, isn't he usually bald? Usually he don't got that hair, right? Am I tripping? Leave in the comments you think I'm tripping.
The blame on this negligent, selfish driving instructor who...
Remember this clip, because it's going to be very important later on. And then she says this insanely revealing line.
What have I done? Everyone will know that I let him slide through school. I'll have to move to a new city, start a new boating school.
She look hella devious while she's doing this. Hold on, look at this.
Know that I let him slide through school. I'll have to move to a new city, start a new boating school with a new name. No, not again.
Bro, Mrs. Puff, what is you on?
Not again. Come on, it's like they're just begging someone to make a theory about this.
Yes,
Now,
Alex.
Mrs. Puff was originally from a different town. She used to own a different boat.
Oh, hell no. Y'all
Mrs.
bugging
Puff
in the
isn't
chat.
her real name. There's something in her past that she ran away from. Now, there's been some debate over whether she's actually referring to a new name for herself or for her boating school, but I do think she's talking about her own name. Because if she's trying to run away from something in her past, she wouldn't start a new boating school with her real name in the title.
Yeah.
Now, when she says again, I don't think she's just referring to
So this is what we know already. She's not from here. She's owned a different boarding school, and her name isn't even Mrs. Puff. What y'all think her real name is? Mrs. Blowfish? Nah, she's not gonna be called Mrs. Blowfish. You know how many kids will make him like, "Hey, Mrs. Blow."
starting a new life.
Everyone will know that I let him slide through school. Not again.
I think
Okay,
at
that's
her
another
previous
thing.
boating school, she had a terrible student just like SpongeBob, who she prematurely gave a license to, and it
You
led
know
to
the
something
vibes
so
in the
terrible
chat?
happening
Run
that
it
she
up in the
ran away
chat,
and started
man.
a whole new life. In season 3, episode 5, Doing Time, we get a flashback to when she first opened up the school.
Bro, she built like a. Let me stop. Let me stop. Mell0 gang in the chat, man. Mell0 gang in the chat.
I pledge that as long as a student is willing to learn, I shall never give up.
She like, I will never give up. SpongeBob pulls off the rip. That's crazy.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Spam the emote in the chat, man. Spam the emote in the chat.
Let's keep in mind that this is not her first boating school. Maybe the whole reason she's making this pledge now at her second school is because she gave up on a student at her previous school, and that led to her having to run away and start a new life. She's
Yeah.
pledging to never make the same mistake again. Now let's skip ahead to one of the newer episodes. Season 12, episode 21, Lighthouse
Season 12, that's crazy. Season 12 is crazy.
Louie, where Mrs. Puff has SpongeBob organize all the stuff she keeps in the school's lighthouse. There's lots of
Ain't that like child labor or some shit? You better be paying him, Mrs. Puff.
interesting things hidden in the background. But
Oh, bro, tell me that's not Squidward, bro. Bro, tell me that's not a Squidward costume, bro. Bro, tell me that's not Squidward. Tell me that ain't low-key racist, bro. Come on now. Let's do some little investigating for it. She's got a damn table from the Krabby Patty place. I forget what it's called. Probably Krabby Patty place. I don't remember.
of interesting things hidden in the background.
Yeah.
The first thing that
Okay, she got what else? She got here. She got SpongeBob, the Diary of SpongeBob. How she got that? She's got a dictionary. Okay, education. She got a ring in here. Damn, Mrs. Puff. She be robbing people and shit. Okay. She got police. She got police stuff here. She's got Mr. Krabs. She's got a folder on herself. Hold on. We investigating this shit. So she got a little 8-ball thing going on. She's got a little racket thing. That pizza probably old as hell, bro. Y'all think that pizza's still edible? It's underwater too. That's another thing. How food work underwater, bro? Let's really talk about it.
caught my eye was
And yes, it's a cartoon show, but come on, how's it really work? Let's talk about it.
this file labeled Mrs. Puff. It makes sense for a teacher to have files on all their students, but why would she have a file about herself? But let's remember, she's not Mrs. Puff. That's
Yeah.
a fake identity she created, and I'm willing to bet all of her fake identification
Bro, that's how she got the license for SpongeBob. It's a fake ID. Mrs. Puff, I'm on to you.
documents are in this file. Back in No Free Rides, she just gives SpongeBob a license that she already had for him. So
Thank
she
you.
makes these licenses and would probably know how to make fake identifications. But that's not the only hint about Mrs. Puff's past in this lighthouse. There is something in here that directly confirms all of this. As SpongeBob swallows all of Mrs. Puff's junk,
Pause. Shut up, Alex,
we see
man.
something very interesting for only a few frames. Deranged boat teacher makes getaway. 10 seasons later,
That's crazy, man. She's front page on the newspaper.
for only a few frames. Deranged boat teacher.
Nah, bro, we've seen that picture though. Bro, look at the little Easter egg. So it's from New Kelp Post. I mean, she's originally from New Kelp City. Okay. She was using the balloon animal before, okay. And that picture. We seen that picture. Remember he said, remember that little thing? Yeah.
Teacher makes getaway. 10 seasons later, and the creators are still hiding stuff.
Hey, if you're still in the stream, pop out in the chat, man. Pop out in the chat.
But we actually get a ton of new information from this newspaper. This is from the New Kelp Post, which tells us Mrs. Puff originally lived in New Kelp City.
Yeah.
And there's a caption that reads, distracts authorities with balloon animals. And do you remember that clip from the beginning?
I hope I still remember how to do this. Yeah.
So whenever Mrs. Puff makes a getaway or commits a crime, she leaves behind a balloon animal to distract the police. I'm telling you guys, these writers don't just do stuff randomly. They have reasons for everything.
Yeah.
And the most damning piece of evidence from this newspaper is actually the picture of Mrs. Puff. Kind of a strange photo, right? We had seen
Yeah.
this exact same photo of her before. In the episode No Free Rides, when she imagines what would happen if SpongeBob got his license.
Local consensus places the blame on this negligent, selfish driving instructor.
This means that this isn't just her imagination of what might happen.
Yeah.
This is also her remembering what happened when she lived in New Kelp City and prematurely gave one of her students a license.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that the fish reporting the news is the exact same one who reported about her in New Kelp City.
Yeah.
Let me explain. We know from the episode Whatever Happened to SpongeBob that reporters from the Bikini Bottom News can also work for the New Kelp City News.
Yeah.
But the real reason I think this is because of his hair.
Yep.
The entire show,
Bro,
we have
what did I say earlier? What did I say earlier? Bro, I really do this, y'all. Y'all sleeping on me, bro.
never seen this fish report.
My time is now.
Why would the creators go out of their way to add that detail? Because Mrs. Puff isn't imagining him as he looks now. She's remembering him from years ago when he used to have hair, when he
Yeah.
reported about her in New Kelp City. Mrs. Puff has been running from her past ever since, and
Yeah.
is now forced to relive her experience with an unteachable student through SpongeBob. But
Yeah.
reliving this trauma has pushed her to the point of complete insanity. And trust me when I say that you have no idea how delusional she actually is.
Talk to me, Alex. The insanity of Mrs. Puff. Hey, for y'all that's still here, we appreciate every single one of y'all, man. We appreciate every single one of y'all. Do y'all remember to just click the link and sub to the channel, man? Appreciate every single one of y'all for real. I'm telling y'all, man, we up next. Nobody's ready for what we about to do, man. Nobody's ready for it, man. We're about to go crazy all year long. And make sure to sub to the new channel, man. Sub to the clip channel, man. This is where everything's gonna go, man. All the stuff that you see that's gonna be in the stream. If y'all want to watch it later or y'all want to recommend it to somebody, y'all got this right here, man. Sub to the channel, man. Sub to the channel for all the clips, bro. I'm telling y'all, we're not doing this. We're doing this for real, man. We here, man. Let's get it back to the theory.
Another running gag throughout the series is Mrs. Puff's occasional nervous breakdowns and moments
Hey,
of
chill,
intensity
he.
with SpongeBob. And
Chillin',
then
bro.
as the show continues. At first, she did care for SpongeBob, but in the newer episodes, she literally tries to kill SpongeBob just to get him out of her life. Even SpongeBob just walking up to her gives
That's
her
crazy.
severe PTSD.
Hi, Mrs. Puff.
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Hit the brakes, SpongeBob! Watch the tree!
She got PTSD from teaching this dude how to drive. That's crazy.
Wait, Mrs. Puff. We're not driving.
But these mostly seem
Look how concerned he looked. He's like, damn, I really done did this. It's crazy.
just one-off moments. And for the most part, Mrs. Puff is still a functioning member of society, right? I'm
Nah, I don't think she is.
going to show
Look
you
how crazy she looks right here, man. We're supposed to close that mouth,
she's
Mrs. Puff.
actually much more insane and delusional than you may
Yeah,
think. And some of
I
the
believe
episodes
that.
she's in take place entirely in her own head.
So, y'all telling me, or Alex, you're telling me that Mrs.
talking
Puff can have whole episodes where she's playing it out in her head? I'm not going to say she's a sociopath yet. But speaking of sociopaths, big prayers and hope everybody is doing well in Texas. It's not, and I'm not doing this just because, but just to talk about it. This is something real. The fact that an elementary school can get shot up by a guy wearing full body armor is ridiculous, for one. And for two, this is a real talk moment for real. If any of y'all in my chat, any of y'all got family in Texas, I'm praying for y'all. Hopefully y'all are safe. If any of y'all have, because I got friends in Texas. I know they're okay. I checked in on them. I'm like, hey, bro, you okay? I know that I know it hits. The second thing is when it comes to people passing away, when it comes to children passing away or dying, majority of that is car accidents. Right after car accidents is school shootings, y'all. Just praying for y'all in Texas. Hope y'all situation improves for real. Let's get back to the video though. We got a little too serious. Come on. No, but sometimes we need to get serious. Sometimes we need to talk about real stuff in these streams, man. We do all the fun stuff. We do this conspiracy. We do the dark stuff. We're getting into the Disney dark stuff later. After next conspiracy video, we're doing that.
About how insane Mrs. Puff is, there is no better place to start than the episode Doing Time. Once again, SpongeBob fails the boating test and causes destruction and chaos, which leads to Mrs. Puff going to jail. SpongeBob keeps breaking into jail to try and bust her out, but Mrs. Puff actually prefers being in jail over teaching him. We actually get
That's actually kind of crazy to think about. How you like jail more than being on the outside? Maybe the outside is a jail for her, man. Maybe she's got no escape. Because I would have been like gone if I was her. Let's see what's wrong. Let's see what's really going on.
Get another interesting line about Mrs. Puff's past in this episode.
Okay, you can do this, Puff. You can get through this without losing your sanity. Oh, that's a road we don't want to go down again.
So we know.
All right, so she's lost her sanity before. Damn. SpongeBob, this you? You the one that did this? That's crazy.
That Mrs. Puff has lost her sanity in the past, probably from her previous terrible student. But it seems
I believe
she's
that.
recovered since then, except in this episode she has a complete mental breakdown. SpongeBob
Yeah, the
keeps
raccoon
appearing
got
in
a fatty.
impossible places until she gets thrown into solitary confinement.
Oh yeah, she did somebody what they put in her food? Nobody starts like this.
Where each wall of the room transforms into a giant SpongeBob face. And then the episode ends in a way that's so weird and confusing that it rivals the infamous Gorilla episode.
So, for y'all that didn't watch the last videos, no, not dark web conspiracy theories. We more like TV channels. We're gonna talk about it after this video. But if y'all didn't see how this one ended, it basically SpongeBob addressing how could a gorilla be breathing and talking underwater. The dude freaks out, hops on top of the zebra, and they out of there. And then they show, in the backdrop, they show like a family watching this shit. It's kind of cool, but it's again kind of wild ending.
As Mrs. Puff freaks out, she's suddenly transported back into the beginning of the episode when SpongeBob was taking the test. Except this time, SpongeBob gets arrested instead of her.
Okay. Okay.
I can't believe it. It was all
Okay.
a dream. I'm not going to jail.
Why would you go to jail? You already did your time.
So she's imagining all of this. Maybe she's still on the inside. Talk to me.
So what's really going on in this episode?
Yeah,
Everything
talk
over
to
her
me.
Head? Is Mrs. Puff just caught in an endless loop? I think this entire episode is inside of Mrs. Puff's head. And
Oh, I
she's
believe
actually
that.
on the outside the whole time, but she's been imagining herself
Okay.
inside of prison. I can explain. Listen closely to what the police officer tells Mrs. Puff.
I'm not going to jail.
Why would you?
And for those that think this is how real life is, you already did your time. That's not how shit works. You don't get put in jail one time, and then when you do the same devious shit the second time, you'll be let free. All y'all that live and really know that for real. Come on.
Why would you go to jail? You already did your time. And then revealing she's still in a prison uniform despite being on the outside.
It's a way different uniform,
This
though.
scene is obviously inside of her head.
I know that is.
Everything we see is symbolic. And if we can understand the symbolism of it, we can understand what's really going on with Mrs. Puff. Notice how she's suddenly wearing a black and white striped prison uniform, even though the entire episode she's been wearing this orange jumpsuit. Why would the creators go to the extra effort to draw a whole new prison uniform for her? Well, we've seen her wear this black and white prison uniform before. The very first time she went to prison back in season 1, episode 7, Hall Monitor. So when the police officer says, "You've already done your time," he's referring to the first time she went to jail. But why is she still wearing that uniform outside of prison? Well, she may have
Man.
gotten out of jail, but she was by no means free.
Yeah.
Having to teach SpongeBob is a prison in itself. And she manifests that by believing she's in jail and wearing a prison uniform despite being on the outside. This entire episode, every time SpongeBob magically magically appears.
That's
all
crazy,
inside her
though.
head. She is completely delusional, and hints
Yep.
that she's experiencing these hallucinations don't stop there. Just
Mm-hmm.
6 episodes later, she goes to a house party SpongeBob throws, and while
Yeah.
everyone is talking and having a good time, in the
Uh,
background we see she's
Oh no, that's crazy. She's talking to an ice sculpture of SpongeBob. First off, she hates SpongeBob. We've already seen that. So why would she be talking to him, for one? And for two, bro, you can't tell me. That's the farthest conversation I've seen. That's like you have one. That's like, say you work in and you see your homie in the other aisle, and like, hey, what's up, my boy? Like, that's crazy, bro. And man, Mr. Puff, you should not be a teacher, bro. Stop it.
literally sitting by herself talking to an ice sculpture of SpongeBob. You can't tell me this isn't intentional. I mean, look at this. Now, back in
Exactly.
the episode No Free Rides, there is a very strange picture inside of Mrs.
Oh
Puff's
nah, this is crazy. Wait, hold on. Nah, I'm gonna chill.
It's a picture
I'm
of
chill.
Mrs. Puff inside of a picture of Mrs. Puff inside of a picture of Mrs. Puff, creating an infinite
That's crazy. Let's keep it going.
loop. This is something that has confused SpongeBob fans for years.
Uh-huh.
But like everything in the show, there is a reason for it being there.
Uh-huh.
One of the SpongeBob storyboard artists actually called it the biggest mystery in the entire show. If you think about it, this is just like the end of Doing Time, where she's stuck in an infinite loop of SpongeBob failing the driving test. Because it's all symbolic of what her life is, just an endless cycle of SpongeBob taking the test and failing, and no matter what she does to try and escape, she always ends up back in the same place at the end of
I'm gonna be honest, SpongeBob, driving ain't for you, bro. How many times you done took the driving test? How many times you done crashed into some shit? How many times you been failed driving? Bro, driving ain't for you, bro.
the episode.
Stick to taking the bus.
So this picture is another symbolic manifestation.
Stick to Uber, bro.
of she's feeling. We even see another one of these pictures all the way in season 9, episode 5, Bumper to Bumper. This is something that the show is consistently alluding to. Mrs. Puff is an unreliable narrator, and anything we see with her could potentially all be inside of her own head. In fact, I believe I found another episode that takes place inside of her head. In season 9, episode 17, SpongeBob Long Pants, SpongeBob goes to a different boating instructor and actually gets his license. But as soon as he does, we briefly cut to Mrs. Puff waking up.
You pass.
I finally got my driver's license.
Lock your doors, bar your windows, it's the end of the world!
Now, this seems like it's probably just a throwaway.
That's like, ain't that a little extreme for, you just trying to get his license? He just trying to be able to have some freedom and go on his own way? Believe me, I don't got my license. I'm gonna keep it a band. I don't got my license. I don't got my permit. I don't got a car. I don't got nothing. But I have driven before, and driving gives you a whole new sense of freedom. You telling me you'd freak out over that, Mrs. Puff? Maybe you might be a sociopath. You just might be, Miss Puff.
Somehow senses that SpongeBob got his license, and it causes her to wake up and freak out. You know, it's a good bit. It's funny. But I have a question. If the joke is that she's
Yeah.
waking up at the
Y'all know in the chat. Y'all know. She been a kleptomaniac, bro.
exact time SpongeBob gets his license, how come she wakes up at night when SpongeBob clearly gets his license during the day? Because this entire episode actually takes place inside of Mrs. Puff's head. And this is the only part of the episode in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that was all about, but I'm glad it's over.
But let me pause for a second. I'm sure some of you are already wondering if this contradicts my previous SpongeBob video, The Television Theory. If you haven't watched that one, the gist of it is that the entire show is a documentary television show, and everything we see is actually being secretly filmed by scuba divers. And there's a ton of evidence to support it. I'm very proud of that video. You should definitely check it out.
As you should be.
It's supposed to
As you
from a
should be.
camera, then
That video was a W. Go check it out if you haven't already.
how are we seeing things from inside Mrs. Puff's head? In fact, how do we see dreams and flashbacks and thought bubbles? Well, I think the simple answer is that even though we view the show through an objective camera lens, the world itself still follows the rules of a cartoon.
You can
Yeah.
never tell another living soul.
Hold up, is this the best quality? Cool, it's the best quality.
Wait, hold on! What's that?
That's funny as hell.
Pen is out of ink. Plankton! You'll never get me formula. Not even in a flashback.
In the world of SpongeBob,
That's
you
crazy.
can imagine something and other people can still see, record, or interact with it because that's just how cartoons work. Back to the theory, we know that her insanity has caused her to live a life of delusion. But if you
Yeah.
remember back to the Lighthouse episode, she's also become an extreme hoarder. And looking at her collection of junk is like a look directly into her mind. So there's gotta be something we can learn about her from it. There's a picture of her boyfriend.
Oh, is this where they're gonna get into the stealing part of her life? How she's crazy as hell? Well, we already know she's crazy as hell. But we already looked at this earlier.
Mr. Krabs, the hall monitor belt she gives her students.
Oh, I thought that was police stuff. My bad.
Mean drawings her students.
Wow, that's hella disrespectful. Her students are on a different type of timing. How many of y'all were badass kids in class? Me? I gotta be honest, I was mostly a good student, man. I was mostly doing my purpose, just doing me, bro. How many of y'all were badass kids? Leave it in the comments and leave it in the chat, man.
SpongeBob's diary, a loading safety helmet. Wait.
Yeah.
SpongeBob's diary?
What? Oh, nah. I know we saw diaries on SpongeBob, but man, SpongeBob, the details are insane. Respect.
Why does she have SpongeBob's diary? The last time we saw that, it was safely put away in SpongeBob's library.
Patrick, my boy, those do not fit you. Believe me, I'm big too, but I know what fits me and what don't. I don't try to fit myself into something like that. That's crazy. You know you got all types of stretchy marks all over that shit, bro. Let me chill.
What's she doing in her lighthouse? And
yeah.
Why does she have Squidward's painting and a table from the Krusty Krab?
Bro, why did I call it Krabby Patty some shit? I knew it was the Krusty Krab, bro.
And SpongeBob's bike.
Whoa.
And Squidward's teddy bear. And the hair curlers Mr. Krabs had.
Dang.
And that statue of Squidward.
Dang.
And that diamond ring. And that crown. And that bucket of radioactive waste. And
bro, real question is why you got a radioactive waste in your house? You asking for an accident to happen where you at?
That jellyfish sign? Oh my god. Mrs. Puff is a kleptomaniac.
Alright, how many of y'all know what that means? Me? I know what that means. I know it down pat. For y'all that don't know what it means, we're looking it up right now. A kleptomaniac is the recurrent inability to resist urges to steal items that you generally don't really need and that you usually have little value. So that's literally what Mrs. Puff is. She is a kleptomaniac. I'm not gonna lie. I had kleptomaniac tendencies when I was younger. I had the yearn to steal because I loved the adrenaline rush. I loved that feeling that it had. But since becoming an adult, since becoming more mature, I looked back at myself and I was like, you don't need to do all that. You got bread, you can pay for it yourself. You don't need to be stealing none. Nothing too crazy. Nothing crazy at all. Now, am I saying I feel bad for those people that in their situation? No. People get put in this situation all the time. People act that way all the time. People have different shit going on in their life. But am I saying that it's acceptable what she's doing? No, not necessarily. People deal with it. People go through stuff. People go through phases in life. Everybody, when you think about it, is like an onion. Multiple layers to who they are. I know that's corny, but it's true. Let's keep it going, man. This video gone kind of long.
Mrs. Puff has been stealing from everyone.
And yeah, you knew it, bro. You knew it.
Prove that her pet snail from season 3, episode 19 was stolen.
My snail is up a tree. I've had her since I was a little girl. No!
You've had that snail since you've been a little girl.
Mrs. Puff, stop the cap.
Huh. Then how come that is the exact same snail Squidward had 4 episodes ago in the
4 episodes ago, damn. That's crazy. Yo, Mrs. Puff. Somebody gotta report Mrs. Puff, man. She's a kleptomaniac, she's potentially a sociopath, and she stays letting SpongeBob in class. She damn well knows she would have kicked him out of class. Come on, stop playing.
Race.
I wouldn't let Snally here play with that mongrel mutt. She's a purebred.
Oh, what the hell type of... What's that supposed to mean? Well, let me find out that that's a racial slur, Squidward. Otherwise, we having words.
See, she even has
Don't talk about the homie Gary like that.
own papers.
He even has her paperwork. Mrs. Puff clearly stole the snail from Squidward. But why the hell would Mrs. Puff steal all this other junk? What possible use could she have for any of it? We could find
Same with the snail. Same with the snail.
The answer to that question by looking at this green hat and this purple jacket. These were gifts Mr. Krabs bought her on their first date, but she ended up feeling uncomfortable receiving them and gave them back to him.
I I'm afraid I just don't feel comfortable accepting all these gifts.
Except apparently she's not too uncomfortable to steal them back afterwards.
The true definition of a kleptomaniac is somebody that steals for the rush. Okay, that's not a good way of saying it. To steal is just to steal. Just for the thrill of stealing something. Y'all gotta stop playing with Mrs. Puff, man.
Though clearly Mrs. Puff isn't stealing this stuff because she wants to use it. She just steals for the thrill of it. Maybe stealing
Thank you.
things is her way of coping with the insanity of her everyday life. And remember, this isn't the first time she's gone insane.
You can get through this without losing your sanity. Oh, that's a road we don't want to go down again.
In fact, I have reason to believe that she started stealing things way back whenever she first went insane.
I hope I still remember how to do this.
I don't think she's just talking about remembering how to make balloon animals. She's probably also referring to remembering how to steal a boat. And if that's not enough for you, in a SpongeBob comic book, she actually admits that she used to rob...
What? Yo. Mrs. Puff got a double life, bro. She been had a double life, but like this is OD Mrs. Puff. Also, what type of robber still has lipstick on? Catwoman don't be doing that. Nobody else be really doing it like that. Come on, Mrs. Puff. You're too identify. You're easy to identify.
Banks, and she wears the exact same ski mask.
Hey, if you're still here, let me know something in the chat, man. Let me know something in the chat.
SpongeBob how to drive. It's led her to steal from the people she cares about and completely disassociate from reality. But that begs a very important question. If SpongeBob is causing her life to be so miserable, then why does she even keep teaching him? After all the destruction and pain he's caused, she
That's
totally
crazy.
Expel him. Right? I mean, she will literally try and kill him so she doesn't have to teach him, but for some reason she can't just expel him. It's almost like there's someone forcing her to teach SpongeBob. Back to the episode No Free Rides. After prematurely giving SpongeBob a license, she steals his boatmobile so he can't hurt anyone. In the end, this causes her to get arrested and go to jail, but then SpongeBob tells her this.
And besides, the warden says she'll let you go early if you do her a favor.
What's that?
Free driving lessons!
She'll get to leave.
That's oddly very specific. Free driving lessons? That's very specific. We're gonna see.
Free driving lessons. That seems like an oddly specific requirement.
Bro, I swear I did not watch this video before stream. I swear I didn't watch this before stream.
And that's not the only time this gets mentioned either. In Season 9, Episode 5, Bumper to Bumper, we get this scene.
If only SpongeBob could pass his boating test, he'd be out of my life once and for all. Unfortunately, I keep getting reminded of the consequences if I get too angry with the little nuisance.
Consequences? Are you telling me that if she refuses to teach SpongeBob specifically, she'll be violating her parole and get sent back to jail? Why does the prison even care if Mrs. Puff teaches SpongeBob? Is it just part of some weird community service? But things start to get really suspicious at the end of Season 7, Episode 5, Summer Job. Once again, Mrs. Puff ends up in jail, but this time she's forced to go to a prison boating school.
Oh, wow! A driver's education class!
Good day, class!
I'm not even gonna say it because Alex probably gonna say it too. But SpongeBob teaching is crazy. His energy is crazy. Hey, for all my homies at Woodlands, tell me this ain't Carla's energy, bro. Bro, tell me she don't got that energy, that fucking crackhead energy, bro.
I must be having a nightmare! What's he doing here? Dear Mrs. Puff, I'm following in your footsteps and got a job as a driver's ed teacher for the summer.
Who in their right mind would hire SpongeBob to do this after he's literally destroyed the city countless times while driving? Is this just another one of Mrs. Puff's delusions? Or is the prison intentionally forcing her to be around SpongeBob just to torture her? I mean, look at the way the guard forces her to sit there and listen to him.
Get me out of here!
Damn.
And look at that evil smile he has as he watches her endure this torture.
Yes,
There is
y'all know.
something strange going on with this prison. Then, in Season 10, Episode 8, The Getaway, Mrs. Puff meets a criminal named Dorsal Dan and starts to get romantic feelings for him.
Bro, how are you attracted to someone that looks like that, bro?
The Getaway.
He
Mrs.
looked
Puff-
hella ugly. You can tell. He probably got a little... Bro, tell me if he was human. Tell me he wouldn't be having a damn mohawk on some shit. Bro, tell me he would not have like a mohawk, that little thing. And you know he doesn't got facial hair like right here. They just over here, bro. Bro, just ugly.
Meets a criminal named Dorsal Dan and starts to get romantic feelings for him.
Yeah,
Says
she
also while
do.
she's still dating Mr. Krabs. Shame on you, Mrs. Puff.
She's like, I got hella hoes.
So they both accidentally land in prison, and the warden puts him in solitary confinement.
Warden, I found this one pulling up outside the prison.
Dorsal Dan, a notorious getaway driver. Toss him in the clink.
I'll wait for you, my little tender boy.
She be catching feelings way too quick. Don't calm down. He's ugly as hell anyway.
In or out of jail, this prison will stop at nothing to make sure she is alone and miserable. But why? Who's behind all of this? Why would anyone care this much about torturing Mrs. Puff? Who's the mastermind pulling the strings? Well, maybe it has something to do with her old life in New Kelp City. Maybe she crossed someone and they've been plotting their revenge ever since. But I've looked in every single frame of New Kelp City, and there is nothing connecting it back to the prison. I've looked literally everywhere, and there's not a single person from the city that has anything to do with Mrs. Puff.
Alright, I believe you.
Well, I mean, maybe except for the literal warden of the prison she's being kept in. He may be hiding slightly off screen, but that is clearly the same warden of the Bikini Bottom prison. And this isn't some random background character that the show reuses all the time. He is a very distinct character. You can call me out on the Squilliam video all you want, but
Wait, what does that comment say?
all the time, it's time.
No.
But wait a second. If the warden was originally from New Kelp City, then he'd probably know about Mrs. Puff's dark past and her true identity. So why hasn't he exposed her? He's just kept quiet about the fact that one of his inmates is living a completely false identity. She'd probably even get more prison time when they find out who she really is, so why hasn't he said anything? This is where things get very interesting. So, we know Mrs. Puff prematurely gave a student at her original boating school a license, and that led to them causing chaos and destruction. Maybe this student accidentally did something terrible to the warden, and he's blamed Mrs. Puff ever since. Whatever happened was so terrible that it caused him to move to Bikini Bottom and get a job as the warden of the town's prison. And to his surprise, he finds out that one of his inmates is actually the person he blames for that terrible thing happening. This works out perfectly for him. He can finally get his revenge on Mrs. Puff by making her life miserable. All he has to do is reveal her dark secret, and she'll be stuck in jail for much longer. Except for one small issue with his plan. Mrs. Puff actually likes being in prison.
One day down, 2,528 to go. Oh, that's just shy of 4 years without SpongeBob. I'm going to enjoy this.
So, he comes up with a new plan. Keep Mrs. Puff's secret and let her out of prison early, but only under the condition that she has to teach SpongeBob. He's literally turning her normal life into a prison. And he makes sure going back to prison to avoid SpongeBob isn't even an option for her anymore, because he'll make sure that SpongeBob is always in there with her. And he's not gonna let her escape and start a new life like she did in New Kelp City. He makes sure to give her an ankle bracelet that doesn't let her leave Bikini Bottom.
I can't even leave town without violating my parole.
He is the mastermind who's been controlling everything this entire time. But guess what? His insidious plan doesn't even end there. This is not the first time we've seen the warden character. We first see him in Season 4, Episode 2, Krabs vs. Plankton. In this episode, Plankton slips on some water in the Krusty Krab and decides to sue Mr. Krabs for everything he owns. And then guess who shows up out of nowhere and offers to be Mr. Krabs' lawyer?
What I really need is a good lawyer.
Whoa, did somebody say lawyer? Richard A. Bottomfeeder, attorney at law. I couldn't help but notice that despicable display.
Richard A. Bottomfeeder, the warden of the Bikini Bottom prison, is also apparently a lawyer? That's kind of strange. Those both sound like major careers. You usually wouldn't imagine someone being both. Then he says he'll be Mr. Krabs' lawyer completely free of charge.
So, how much is this gonna cost me?
Actually, I won't charge a dime unless we win.
Well, that's awfully generous of you, Richard. He seems very confident that he can win the case, but right before he goes to court, he slips in some water and says SpongeBob will have to be Mr. Krabs' lawyer now.
Oh, this is gonna be a slam dunk.
That's a little aggressive.
Mr. Krabs' lawyer, speak to me. Wrapped with pain, can't move.
Looks like
like you're gonna have to handle this one, son.
He tells SpongeBob that he has to represent Mr. Krabs, even though he himself called SpongeBob a liability.
Actually, SpongeBob, we won't be needing any testimony from you. Why, you'd be more of a liability than an asset.
But it's okay, because apparently all SpongeBob needs to win is inside of Richard's briefcase.
Everything you need to win is in this here case.
Really? Everything?
Except when
That's really convenient. I don't know, man. Hella suspicious.
SpongeBob gets to court, he realizes that Richard never gave him the combination to the case.
It's, all in here.
Really?
Yep, right in here.
Is there a problem?
Your lawyer
SpongeBob said, I gotta get my suit right, okay.
didn't give me the combination.
Either Richard A. Bottomfeeder is the worst lawyer in history, or this is all part of his elaborate plan to ruin Mrs. Puff's life. Here's what I think happened. First, he finds out that Mr. Krabs is being sued, and he wants to ensure that Mr. Krabs loses the case because he wants to destroy any chance Mrs. Puff has at finding love. So he pretends to be a lawyer, even offering his services for free, something Mr. Krabs can't resist. He makes Mr. Krabs feel confident that they're gonna win the case, and then at the last second, he pretends to get into an accident so he can't represent Mr. Krabs. Instead of finding a real lawyer to replace him, he tells the most incompetent person for the job, SpongeBob, that he has to be Mr. Krabs' lawyer. And he gives him a case that allegedly has all the answers in it without actually giving SpongeBob the combination, setting him up for a total failure in court. Richard A. Bottomfeeder refuses to let anyone get close to Mrs. Puff, not Dorsal Dan and not Mr. Krabs. This guy has squillion levels of hate for Mrs. Puff. But why? What exactly did her previous student do that warrants this much torture? It can't be something as simple as him or his property getting damaged. It has to be something life-changing, something like losing a loved one because of the student's reckless driving. And I think the show gives us one last hint about who this might have been. All the pictures of Mrs. Puff's house are very meaningful to her. She's got photos of Mr. Krabs, her pet snail, and of course those infinitely looping photos that told us so much about her mental state. But there is one more photo in this house that might be the key to this entire conspiracy. In season 12, episode 14, Plankton's Old Chum, we see a photo of someone we've never seen before on Mrs. Puff's wall. There's some surprising similarities between this character and Richard. The green color, the red bow tie, the overall fancy, serious appearance. It clearly isn't the same person, but maybe this is someone related to Richard, like a father, a son, or a brother that Mrs. Puff's former student killed. And the reason she keeps a photo of him up is to have a permanent reminder to never make the same mistake of giving someone a license who doesn't deserve it. Mrs. Puff is a boating school teacher who once made a terrible mistake that led to the loss of her business, identity, sanity, and any chance at finding happiness. I like to think that there used to be a time when she was happy, back when her husband was still alive. If only he was still around today, maybe she wouldn't have to face all of this on her own. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Is what I would say if I was done, except her husband is still alive. Woo! Let's do this. In the SpongeBob movie, SpongeBob and Patrick travel to a gift shop named Shell City that's full of dead fish turned into knickknacks and ornaments. Except they end up setting off the smoke detector, which activates the sprinkler system and brings all the dead fish back to life, including a very familiar looking pufferfish hanging from the ceiling. Mr. Puff is alive. Well, wait a second. If he's alive and he escaped, then why hasn't he gone back to Mrs. Puff? Why is she still alone? Because remember, she ran away from their home in New Kelp City and started a new identity. So sadly, Mr. Puff has no way of finding her. The tragedy of Mrs. Puff's story is that her happiness is just a city away, but she can never even leave town because that would violate her parole. Richard A. Bottomfeeder probably even knows her husband is alive and is making sure they're never reunited. As the name says,
that's crazy.
Richard really is a bottom feeder.
Alright, that was corny.
This video took a ton of time and effort to do all the research for, so I really hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching, and thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this theory. Go to nordvpn.com/AlexBale or use code ALEX.
Alright. If y'all don't know, Alex is actually a filmmaker, so at the end of like last 2 minutes of every single one of his videos is a part of a mini film. If y'all want, we could do a reaction to the whole film. But let's just head straight into the next theory, man. Hey chat, y'all still fucking with it? Y'all still want to keep rolling with this or y'all want to go to another theory, another type of theory, the iceberg stuff that I was talking about before? Let me know, chat. Let me know.